I own a bed and breakfast here in Santa Fe that I built in 1989. You want to move me over there? Let me get off over here. Let's see how that
What is your middle name start with?
My middle name?
Yeah.
Antonio.
Oh, P-A-Q.
P-A-Q. Yeah, Pop.
Loud, loud.
You got it. Okay, here I am. Well, anyway, I grew up here in this neighborhood. My bed and breakfast is right in line with Boston Street in Manila Fria. My grandfather owned his grocery store there, and his filigree jewelry shop. You know, so I just know this area like the back of my hand. You know, and Maria asked me if I would please get up and talk about this thing. I mean, I grew up here, you know, from the Guadalupe school where I went to school. You know, the Guadalupe church. You know, I got to know everybody here from, maybe all of you remember the name Alejandrito, the death angel here in Santa Fe. You know, so I got to know him. I got to know Manuel Johan Jr. You know, he was just down the street here on Manhattan Street. You know, just so many characters here that we grew up here in Santa Fe here. And again, you know, I just, you know, I get up every morning, I talk to my guests in the bed and breakfast about, you know, everything that we have here in Santa Fe. Everybody has like a misconception of what we are here in Santa Fe. You know, they think that we're, you know, like, you know, just, you know, regular people that don't know much. You know, but we've been here. We have culture everywhere. You know, we have our Native Americans, our Spanish culture. You know, we have German, we have Armenians, we have the Greeks. You know, we don't want to talk about Tony over there. See, evangelos and we got our Greeks. You know, we've been here forever, and we get along with each other. You know, and growing up in this neighborhood, you know, I've done so many things. You know, I got to meet Herb Albert, the Tijuana Brass, one day back in the 70s, because I got up one day and I was walking to church, and I saw that they were doing a shoot. And I thought, who is doing a shoot in the Railyard? And it was Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. And I thought, I couldn't believe it. So I went up, you know, as you can see, I'm very shy. So I went up and I introduced myself to him. You know, and years later, my daughter worked for him in LA. I got on an elevator, and there he was. And I said, I don't know if you remember me. He said, yeah, you talked my ear off. So, you know, so it's just things like that, you know, that we all know. You know, I want to tell you guys a story of what happened to me one time here in Santa Fe. I was 10 years old, and me and my buddy Billy Ross, we were off over there close to San Francisco. And we had counted that morning, they had 24 boxcars lined up. And we used to want to run across a bunch of boxcars. And we'd race across, running from one boxcar to the other. And so here we are, we get on the top of the first boxcar, and we're running. And he was a little bit faster than me. And we're running and jumping, and when we got to about the 18th boxcar, wham, you know, the engine hit it. And Billy almost fell off the boxcar, and we looked back, and Billy, he was a big crybaby. So I grabbed him and I pulled him up, and I said, what are we going to do? And I said, you know, just hold steady. You know, they'll stop by the time it wasn't a Choza, it was a grocery store. You know, but you know, by the time we get to there, when we turn for Cerrillos Road, you know, we'll get off there. You know, and we have a little ways to walk. But it didn't stop. It kept on going, you know. And as it turned on Cerrillos Road, that was the last of the railroad detectives that would watch it. So I said, let's get in the car. So we opened up the hatch, and we got in, and we were just looking out. You know. And so it passed, you know, and just then it stopped, and we were ready to get off. So I grabbed the hatch and closed it, and we were going to go down and open the door and get out. But when we got to the bottom, the door wouldn't open. We were just panic stricken in there, and then the train started moving again. So we go back up to the top hatch, and I couldn't get that one to open. So we're really panicking. So I told him, Billy, and we're in there in the dark. You know, there was a few little cracks, and I told him, Billy, you know, really push. I said, help me. We finally got the door open. By then, we were out there past, you know where the trestle is over there on Rodeo Road? Yeah, the little trestle, we were already there. And that's where my grandpa had his property, so I recognized it. I said, we're out of town. You know, we're just 9 or 10 years old, you know. So we just kept on going, and we were too afraid to jump off, because it was going too fast. So we ended up in Lamy. And we had no idea. All we knew was that the train stopped. So we jumped out, and as we hit the ground, hey, you kids! And we just froze. And the engineer saw us. So we climbed up underneath, and he looked at me and says, "You're Quintanilla, right?" And I said, "I'm Quintana." And he says, "I know, you're from Santa Fe." I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Here," he gave me a dime. He says, "You go over there, you get a candy or something, and stay here. And then at 3:30, I'll come and pick you up and we'll get back to Santa Fe." So we had our fun there in the big grass field. It was a gorgeous field there. Had geese and everything in there that we played with. And then at 3:30, he put us back in the engine and brought us back. We knew all about everything.
That is so cool.
Oh yeah, but it really was. Well, the best part of the story is that months later, my sister Henrietta, some of you may have known Henrietta Quintana, but yeah, she was going to go to the nunnery.
That's your sister?
That's my sister. Yeah,
Is she still with us?
Yes. Yeah.
She and Therese were good friends.
Yes, exactly.
Therese was my 5th grade teacher.
Oh yes. Oh, Therese was like my sister.
Therese
We adopted everybody. Therese is still one.
And I knew Henrietta. She worked at the deaf school.
Yeah, she's a principal.
Good God, what a small world.
It's a small world. Well, anyway, Henrietta was going to go to the nunnery back in Racine, Wisconsin. So we all piled in the truck 2 weeks later, and we're all driving over there. My mom, my little sister, my dad, and I were driving back. And I said, "Well, where are we going to go take her?" I thought we were taking her to Chicago, And he said, "No, we're just taking her to Lamy." I said, "Oh yeah, when you get to Lamy, there's geese and there's geese there." Uncle Eddie told me. He comes to the bar out here all the time. And my dad looked at me so, like I say, I've done everything. I got to know Maria's dad, him and my dad. My dad was about 10 years older than him, and they were good friends. My dad was a builder, a sheet metal man, and her dad was an electrician, and they did all kinds of arts and crafts together. They were part of the, what do they call it, the Parian, back in the old days, but there was quite a few, what was her name? Oh God, I can't remember what her name was. She lived right there in Delgado Street. She was a wealthy lady that came from back east, that she kept Santa Fe alive during those times of the Depression. Because she got all the craftspeople to do the tin work, the corchas, everything like that, and she would pay them to do it, and she'd send it back to her Jewish friends. Mrs. Curtin? Yeah, Mrs. Curtin. There you are, Mrs. Curtin. And I'll tell you another story about Mrs. Curtin. She really loved my dad. My dad was 6'4", 270 pounds, big, handsome guy. And I would go over there to their house years later, and she never talked. I was 8 years old, a cute kid. But she loved my dad. She thought my dad was the best thing there was in the world. And my sisters used to tease my mom. Mrs. Curtin, she's really after dad. And my mom said, "She can take it." After a week, so growing up in this neighborhood, I learned, everything. I think I've walked every railroad track that's out there. As kids, used to sit there and walk up and see how far you could go without falling off the track. And we used to oil them up sometimes with buddies, so they'd slip off the track and things like that.
We were evil.
Oh, we were evil. We had money. Oh yeah. If out here you used to get a penny and stick it on the track.
Oh yeah.
And we learned because it would fall off. So what did you do? Get a piece of gum, put it on a penny, and so it would spread it out and it would get it about that long. Then you could turn it into a ring. But no, we grew up here. It was a blast. I got to unload boxcars for Hutchinson Fruit, and back in those days, Mr. Hutchinson would give. This is the mid-50s. He would give us 2 peaches, these huge peaches.
Wow.
They were from Georgia. And 2 bananas, a pineapple, this other stuff that we only got here once a year. I'd take it home, and my mom used to say, "Oh, thank God that you got peaches. Each one of those peaches could make 2 pies."
Wow.
We grew up here. We had a blast. With the nuns growing up at Guadalupe church. You know, we taught them Spanish because they thought they were coming out here to the mission church. You know, and then later on we taught them they couldn't live without their beans and chili and all that. It was just amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.